This week I'm having a classic roast black coffee. It's straightforward, no BS, and is reliable. Reminds me a lot of my next guest, the all-knowing NFL guru Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network. This is a cup of Joey with me, Joey Molinaro.
I'm a tea drinker now, so I'm old, but
You're doing tea? Okay.
I had like this weird stomach stuff, dude, and they were like, you got to cut out dairy, gluten, caffeine. Like dairy and gluten, I'm fine. Like caffeine, no coffee just kills me, dude.
Dang, man. That's got to be, I was going to ask, like, coffee's got to be big for a scout while you're watching film, right?
Oh, yeah. No, like I was in like the beginning of the 5-hour energy craze before I would be like, you know, hitting road trips after practice and stuff and have to drive like 6 hours, get your hotel, stay up, write reports. And nobody knew anything about it. So I'm like, I don't know if this is really good for me to be drinking this much 5-hour energy. And finally, I thought my heart literally might explode out of my chest. And I was like, I haven't seen documentation on this, but I'm guessing this is probably not good for me.
Okay, so now we know the basis of why your stomach is all fucked up. Because right, so
I never put two and two together.
I'm drinking just a straight up. This is what I did. I just have a straight up black classic roast coffee because to me, you are a straightforward guy. You don't have a lot of, hyperbole. You just you get the job done, and that's what black coffee does. That's
amazing. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me. And I was a black coffee guy. It was nothing in it. Just give me the black coffee. I'm good.
I love it. So how's quarantine been for you? I mean, this has got to be like honestly ideal for someone with your job, right? I mean, you just have to sit inside and watch stuff.
Literally, my life didn't really even change because the only thing that was different is I didn't go to pro days. I was at Oregon for Herbert's. As like the whole world was, it was like March. It was my anniversary. It was March 11th. And that was just as everything was starting to shut down. I think that was literally the day the NBA shut down. And so we did the pro day the next day, then went home and they're like, okay, a couple schools started like trickling in, like they're canceling it. And then I was like, okay, we're not going anywhere. But outside of traveling to pro days, watching tape at home, have the camera in the office. So I've been doing TV from home for a while now. So none of that really changed. The only thing that sucked from my side of it was just the actual draft. I mean, not being able to be in the city in Vegas would have been a lot of fun with all the people there. So, but outside of that, dude, it's the same.
Oh yeah, I mean that we had a good draft show. You guys obviously had a good draft show. What was that experience like for you?
It was weird, man. Like I had, because of doing it with ESPN, like the way that works is my NFL Network camera that I have in the house is all dialed in. That connects me straight through. We're good. But, I don't know all the technical stuff, but ESPN is on like a different system. So my camera wouldn't work with their system. So I had a satellite truck parked in the front of my house for 3 days. This is like, you don't want people in your house, right? Nobody knows. I was going to say,
did they have to stay with you, or did they just?
So no, like they were staying wherever they were staying afterwards. But there was like 2 guys with the satellite truck and the cameraman because they set up a different camera in here. And like if my office is like this little box. I have a door that goes outside the side porch here. So they would come there in the morning. I wouldn't be in there. They'd get everything set up, get the camera dialed in, and then I would sit down. So really it was kind of like, we didn't really even see each other for those 3 days. And here this year, I'm sitting here with literally day 3, Joey, I had my swim trunks on.
I think I saw that picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, as soon as the draft ended, boom! Like I was in the pool. Right after it finished. So
that's awesome.
That was weird, man. It was really weird.
Do you think Indianapolis could host a draft? You've been here for the combine. You come here a lot.
Yeah, Indy's great for that. I mean, every event, the combine's awesome. And I was born. I don't know if I ever told you this. I was born in Fort Wayne. So I have Hoosier blood there. So we would go back all the time, and I've been back there for Pacer games and different things. But they, why not? Indy does events really well. I would think the draft would be easy for them to pull off.
So are you a Pacer guy then?
Are you a Purdue or IU?
Purdue.
IU.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Okay, so you obviously didn't.
But I was not a Pacer fan.
But you just rolled with the Hoosiers?
So my aunt was the head women's basketball coach at IU for like 6 years. She was like the Big Ten coach of the year there, like early 80s. So if you read like Bob Knight's books, Like he mentions my aunt by name as like somebody that he was friends with. They got along really well. She might be the only person that I know that actually got along well with Bob Knight. But like,
yeah, from IU, the only person. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. She didn't have any issues. But he would send me as a kid growing up in California, at my birthday, like probably 3 or 4 times growing up. On my birthday, I would get an autographed picture of like the team of the men's basketball team, like hats, different things. And in one year, they included a hat that said, it was after the chair thing. So it was a hat that said Bobby Knight's Furniture Company, buy a couch and we'll throw in a chair. So that was the hat. And in California, like, first of all, there's no college basketball fans in San Diego, period. But I wore that hat around, and you'd think like other like 10-year-old kids are like, what is that? Like they have no context for what that was.
Do you still have it? I mean, that could probably go for a lot of money now.
No, I do have the picture though. I do have a Bob Knight, like him, like smiling, like I've never seen this version of him, like smiling, like leaning back in the chair on the bench at IU, and it's like autographed by him. And I'm like, when did this ever happen? I've watched like every IU game. I've never seen him that happy.
What did the inscriptions say? Were they just like, to Daniel, here you go, stop bothering me, Bob Knight?
I think it was just the signature. I think it was to Daniel, Bob Knight, and that was it. I think it was Bob. I don't think I got the Bobby. I was after the Bobby years. But have you ever got any unique autographs with messages on there? I got one from Junior Seau when I was a little kid.
Okay, what did
it said, be your best and smile, Junior Seau. And I thought, wow, like maybe I was not like giving him, I wasn't emoting enough when I was in line. Did I not seem like I was happy? Because he was like the guy. We loved Junior.
Yeah.
But yeah, be your best and smile from Junior Seau.
No, I haven't gotten anything like that. I have this picture of, I give him a lot of shit for it. I have this picture of Rich Eisen when he first started at NFL Network. So he's got all the hair, looks like a young guy, full head of hair. And he autographed it, but my dad's best friend got it for me, and he said to Joey, and he signed it. And so then when I went on his show, and now that we message back and forth and everything, I keep giving him shit because we have it up in our family Steelers bar that we have, just the lone Rich Eisen photo up there with him with the full head of hair.
That's great.
But it's just like the classic all the best, you know what I mean?
All the best is kind of the go-to, I think.
Yeah. Or maybe like go whatever team, so it's like go Irish, go Saints, that kind of
Here's
deal.
my question. Does Russell Wilson sign every autograph with Go Hawks?
Has to. He signs off every
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be on there.
He's kind of like, if he had more of a recognizable voice like Coach O, he would probably, get recognized for the Go Hawks as much as the Go Tigers, because they each say it after every single interview, no matter what the circumstance is, every press conference, all that kind of stuff.
Well, if you don't, the problem is you have a Coach O in your bag. You don't have a Russell Wilson to date, do you?
No, I don't. I think he's too cool for me even. I mean, when you're married to Sierra and you make that much money, and I just try to stay away from that.
Have you seen his yard, by the way? Like, he posts these videos, which I assumed he was like at a field, like a junior college field or something. Yeah. And then like every now and then it'll pan and I'll see the fence and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's his yard, like at his house. It's amazing. You got to look at this thing. I think it's even lined. I think it might be lined.
I mean, well, he named his newborn Win, and it's not spelled like W-Y-N or like W-I-N-N. It's literally W-I-N. And I was like, that's the most Russell Wilson name in the history of, like, that makes so much sense. It's hilarious that he named his kid Win, like, well, I mean, just setting these expectations from day one with the 1-0 mindset, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to preach that so hard to that kid. I kind of feel bad for him.
I would love it. Like, that's a good sketch for you is like getting ready for your Win's first day of kindergarten and like coming home from his first day of kindergarten. Like, how do we do today? That's a trick question. Now it's about tomorrow. Okay. We are, look, there's a reason why the windshield is big. The rear view mirror is small. We are about tomorrow. What homework do we have? Let's put that behind us today. I know you had a good recess. I heard that, but that doesn't matter. That's in the past. Okay?
Oh my God. I love that. That's a great idea. I mean, you were a quarterback, right? So you have all these cliches down.
Oh yeah. We had my quarterback coach at App State had so many. He was a high school coach in Texas, and then had traveled all over the place. But he still had a lot of these like Texas type phrases. So he would say, "Hey, as quarterbacks, you got to be able to sit on the porch and see all the way around the house." And I was like, okay. Okay, all right, that's a good one. And then he would do these little like rhymes and everything. The safeties are the window into the soul of the defense.
I'm stealing some of those, man. That's
you got to do that for your coach videos. When you do
for
your,
Coach
coach
Burns.
Yeah.
That's that is right on with Coach Burns. The rhyming is always key. You know, you have to have those so they like are easy to repeat and they stick in your head just like they've stuck in your head.
I had a coach at Northeast Louisiana. It was where I went right out of high school. And he had been the offensive. Think about this. Now we're at Northeast Louisiana where we were a 1A independent. So we were playing 4 SEC games. We played Oklahoma State. Like these just getting like we were competitive. We went 5-7. We had a lot of NFL guys, but still it's not where you want to be at that point in time.
Right.
And our offensive coordinator had been the OC at Pitt when they won the national championship with Tony Dorsett. He'd been the OC at Georgia when they won the national championship with Herschel Walker. He'd been, I believe, at LSU, a lot of different, like just big time. And he was just kind of the last couple of years of his career and was coaching there. And he was he was a really good coach, a good guy, but his references were all dated. And so we'd be sitting in the room, and if we didn't, a couple of us had played in this game and we didn't play well at the quarterback position, he got real mad. And you guys are too cool for school. Who do you think you are? Joe freaking Namath? Who do you think you are? Johnny freaking Unitas? And like the other quarterbacks looking in the room like who are these guys?
Who's
like,
Joe? Yeah, Johnny Unitas? Who the hell is that? Right. Football coaches are they're a very special kind of species among us people here. You know what I mean? Like they're their own breed. And they provide a lot of comedy. Really, they do.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're all characters. You know what I mean? Like
they're like cut off from what's going on in the world. Like I can remember, my last year was 2000, so that was at App State. That was the election year, and so there would be some guys, not a lot, but some guys would talk politics in the locker room. And I just remember like being around some of the coaches, and they couldn't tell you who the 2 guys were that were running for president. Like no clue, no clue.
That's one of the best parts is they like pride themselves on just they want to know so much about football, but the least amount that they know about anything else, that's like a source of pride for them. It's just it's just like Saban just now getting an email in 2020. Like, what are we talking about, guys?
Look, there's limited occupancy in this hotel. Okay, we're not going to rent rooms to people that don't matter. I mean, that is the way they look at it. That's how they do it.
We were talking about how drinking coffee is like a big part of being a scout because you work such long hours. To be a scout, do you also have to chew tobacco? Is that like another requirement, kind of?
I didn't. I tried to dip one time in college, and as you know, like the first time it did not go well. Huh? I was in the fetal position in the corner of the room. It was bad. And I think it was a Bandit. It wasn't even like real chew. It was like the little Bandit packet that I put in
pouch?
there. Yeah, it was a pouch. Put me down for the count.
Well,
so that was it. That was it for me. But yeah, a ton of scouts. Yeah, you're sitting there watching tape with 10 guys, and you see the spitters, and they're going strong.
Yeah. Is it more popular to have the styrofoam cups, like the ones you'd have in a hotel lobby, or like what's the most popular kind you come across?
I think to me, styrofoam cup not as much anymore. To me, it's like it's the Diet Coke 22 ounce like skinny plastic bottle. You just take the little top off, and then it's just a little spitter there. And then you got to be a gentleman. You got to put the napkin in. You take the napkin, put that in the bottom to absorb it, so you're not getting the noise. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. So even though you don't do it, you're a vet.
I don't drink. I've never drank, so I don't have. So my body, like that, was probably like a 5-alarm fire inside my system with that, and I was done.
So are your offensive linemen giving you shit? Probably.
I don't even remember who was there. I tried to block it out. I don't even remember who all was there.
Okay, all right. I'll stop asking about it. Speaking of baseball, though, you're talking about Will Clark. Grew up in San Diego.
Yep.
Big Padres fan.
Huge Padre fan.
Do they have the coolest uniforms in the history of baseball, or where does that rank for you?
Yes, and I would like to get your opinion on this because Guy Haberman, who lives up in the Bay Area, obviously a biased Giants fan, but who does stuff on Pac-12 Network, and he's overall good dude, but a major character blemish in that he's sending me these text messages like, these brown uniforms are the ugliest things I've ever seen. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. Everybody loves these. He goes, oh, don't listen to Twitter. I'm like, this is not a Twitter thing. This is like literally, I've never heard one other human being that hasn't said these are awesome. And he's like, well, you don't wear brown. You don't wear brown when you go on television. I'm like, it's not we're not talking about a suit. We're talking about a uniform. It's a totally different criteria.
Absolutely.
What's your take?
Absolutely. I think it's spot on. I mean, it's a perfect amount of like modern with retro, you know, and it's something that definitely catches your eye with the mix of, is it like gold or yellow? Would that be the, what's their other color besides brown?
Yeah. I think it's brown, and it's not a mustard. It's more of kind of like a goldish, I would say. The whole hashtag was like, bring back the brown. It's been around for like 10 years. Padre fans have been begging them to go back to the brown uniforms.
Absolutely, yeah. So the colors catch your eye, but even with the brown, where some people could say like, oh, it's kind of ugly, like that guy, they have that classic feel to them. Like as long as you're not trying to do too much craziness.
It's not Wyoming. It's not like Wyoming football with like all that going on with the cowboy on the helmet and all that.
They either have like their standard solid one color uniform, or they have the pinstripes, which are glorious. Can't go wrong with pinstripes, even if they're brown and mustardish or gold. So I'm with you. I think they're up there with I think the Cubs look as clean. I think even the Brewers, their updated ones are nice. Of course.
Do you like the Twins? Did you see the Twins? The Twins with kind of the baby blue.
Twins are very nice. The Rangers went to the baby blues I saw this year as well, which are cool.
I'm in a pretty good spot right now because growing up in San Diego as a lifelong Padre fan, and then, growing up watching the Chargers, and I've got a chance to call the Charger games now going on my third year. Like I feel like the combination of uniforms I have with my two sports teams, I put it up there against anybody right now.
Yeah, and then IU classic, the Hoosiers.
True, the candy cane. By the way, did you just hate those? Did you hate the candy cane pants?
It's just like, I get it for that group of people, but everywhere else it's just like, come on, you guys look like clowns out there. But it's very near and dear. I get it. They have their thing. It is whatever.
How do you is Gene Katie more likable than Bob Knight? Let's just cut to the chase here.
I think now, yes, overall, but I think Bob Knight
so angry, man.
He has like that. He has that very core, like my grandparents. Very core, like loyal group of fans that will still go to like see him speak places, But I think overall, Gene Katie's around the program more. He does more media, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I remember watching those games. We had like the humongous satellite dish in the back of our house with like Telstar and Weststar, like so we could watch IU basketball games. And I just remember like this is probably late '80s. Mid-late 80s, then through the 90s, like the Big Ten, like that was fun, man. Watching all those guys with Robinson was at Purdue at that time. You had Illinois had like Battle and all those guys. That was just like a fun era of Big Ten basketball. But I remember watching Purdue games, and I was always just thought it was so cool that the court was elevated, like that the I just remember wait, their bench is kind of like below the court. I don't even know. Do they still have that?
No, they don't. They did renovations and everything.
That's a shame. That's still out there, but I mean, it's just it sounds cheesy and cliche, but it is just timing. Like when is it and where is it? Because right now, I love what I'm doing, and I love being able to be around the family and not miss volleyball games, football games, track meets, all that kind of stuff, which would be a little more difficult if you're a GM somewhere. So I think it's a couple years down the road. If the right thing came along, it would excite me. I think it's, you get a chance to build something and have, as Mayock would say, have skin in the game and have a chance to kind of engage your competitive side. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Mel and Todd are like good friends, like that. you say technically we're competitors or whatever, but it's not like if you were with a, with a team, and I missed that side of it. But I'm 42, so I'm like, okay, maybe when you're, 3-4 years from now, and see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like, nowadays, like you look at a guy like Chris Ballard, he's so good, like on the mic and in front of the camera, and then he knows how to answer questions and kind of play that like politician side while he's obviously evaluating really well. So I feel like
he's a great dude.
Yeah, with your experience on TV, it's like the same with Orlovsky, right? Like people are starting talking like people want him in their front office, and it's like because you guys can break it down so well, and you can handle yourself so well that it just makes sense.
Can you do an Orlovsky, by the way? You got to put that one. You got to work on that one. He's got a very distinct voice. I think you could get there.
He does, and he's got a very distinct cadence too. Like when he's like, breaking down film and doing his stuff on Twitter and everything. So I've had people ask me about that before. Hopefully if college football season, gets rolling and everything, then that could be a good outlet to.
How does that work for you? Can you fill me in on that? Like, okay, you hear like Coach O, when you've heard Coach O. What's the process when you decide, okay, I think I can do that? Do you just spit it out, or do you like record something, play it over again? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, so a little bit of both. With Coach O, that's one that like I would do to my buddies and like, kind of just like offhand the last couple of years, just because it was so distinctive and so funny. And no matter who you are, whenever you hear that guy talk,
so good.
Your head turns, and you're like, whoa, that's wild. And of course, like being a big Sandler and Waterboy fan, you had the tie to Farmer Fran, and it's like, oh, that guy sounds like Farmer Fran from Waterboy a little bit. So that one, it was just kind of like, I would just offhand do it, and I just knew I could kind of do it. I'd found that level with it. But then there's other ones that, like Fallon or like Portnoy or people like that, like I'll do them on my camera. I'll be able to tell it's like, okay, that's getting close. That sounds pretty good. Maybe I need to hit this harder or something like that. So a little bit of both.
That's crazy, man. How about KIPER? How'd you get Mel down so good?
Really just because we just watched him for so long. I mean, he's, like being such a big football fan. I mean, he's Mel KIPER. You just know. So, and that one's a tough one. It is interesting too, because like Caliendo obviously does KIPER really, he coined it really. But he has his own way of doing it. And then I have my own way of doing it, So like, and that's the first thing because I sent to Frank, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this KIPER video. Do you mind, since it's already kind of yours? And he was like, well, send it to me. And basically he just didn't want me to do like the Todd, like he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, for sure, that's your thing. I don't want to do that. And so instead of focusing on Todd, like I focus more on like how he drags out the words and he does the O and he said COVID. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things instead of focusing on what Frank does. That's kind of my take on the KIPER impression. So
what I love about it, you're so talented, but the things that I love about it is when you take those impressions out of their normal world and put them in another world. That to me is what sets the whole thing off. That's when I just cry laughing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. That's all. Like how long have you worked with Mel? What was the first interaction there between you guys?
So I met him when I was, I was right in college. Is that right? Yeah, it had to be like my freshman year in college. I had become, friends with Chris Mortensen when I was in high school, towards the end of my high school time. And then
that bit on NFL draft was great, by the way. That was
thanks, dude. Thanks, dude. It was a cool opportunity. I didn't know if you ever get an opportunity like that to publicly thank somebody who's done so much for you. Yeah. So it was neat. I was really stoked to just be able to publicly say what we've said privately to each other. Was pretty cool. But he had flown me up to Connecticut to be around NFL Countdown and got to meet a lot of those guys. And then I really became a big fan of the draft. And so he had me go to the draft and answer his phones at the draft. So I met Mel there. This would have probably been, late 90s, maybe like 98, 99, somewhere around there. And he knew about me from playing at App State, which I thought was ridiculous because I wasn't even like the full-time guy. Like we were kind of sharing the position, me and another guy during our time there. He was just so cool. And I always remember, he remembered my name, which is something I suck at. I wish I was better at it. But every time I would see him after that, he always called me Dan. Nobody's ever called me Dan in my whole life except for Mel.
So
hey, Dan.
You know?
Hey, Dan. Yeah. So
right.
he would always call me by name, and was always super cool to me. So
nice.
Yeah, he's a genuine, like, just good dude, man. Like, everything that you think about him, that's what he is.
I love it. I love to hear that. That's awesome. I'm a huge Steelers fan. I gotta get some DJ thoughts on what you're looking at for them this year.
I like them. We just talked about them on TV yesterday, and they were asking, like, are they a legitimate threat in the division? Are they a legitimate threat to the Chiefs? And I'm like, yeah, if Ben's healthy, they're always a legitimate threat in the division. Yeah. The games with Baltimore, I haven't been on the other side of it. They're, for a decade plus, they're always going to come down to the wire. So they're very much in it on the division. And then, like, Kansas City, they played 2 years ago. It's a shootout. They lose. I think Ben threw for like 450.
Yeah, Mahomes went crazy.
Mahomes went nuts. I think he threw 6 touchdowns. But since that game, Bud Dupree's kind of established himself now. Obviously, you've got Hayward. You've got pass rush up front. You're better down the middle of the field at linebacker and at safety. Like, I think they're better, much better defensively than the team that played the Chiefs then. And if Ben's healthy, they're always going to score points. Everything changes around him. Running backs, receivers, offensive line, tight ends, they still produce when he's healthy. So, I think they're a legitimate threat in the AFC.
Love it. I'd love to hear that. And then you started, and I love this idea is when you started, I meant to reach out to you. You started your own YouTube channel, Daniel Jeremiah. So go for all the, I know there's a bunch of football fans who are going to be watching this. Daniel Jeremiah on YouTube, bunch of breakdowns. You have a few different segments, the 3 terms, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're describing different players with 3 terms and everything. What else you got going on there?
So I've got some fun things kind of cooking on that, and just kind of it's literally in its infancy right now. But to me, it's just a creative outlet. I've got what I do with the network. I've got the podcast, and then you kind of write for NFL.com. But this is someplace where I can kind of explore some different things. I'm looking forward to having some guests on there too. So you got a return engagement coming your way on this one. But like, to me, 3 terms is something that we just would always talk about in draft rooms, which was, okay, we read these long reports and all the background, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, just narrow it down. Like, what is this guy? Like, he's explosive. He's physical. He's smart, whatever. He's rangy. He's loose, whatever. But it just was a way to kind of reduce a guy down into like 3 terms. So it's a good project to kind of, really simplify the evaluation. So I've done that. And then, when the hope is, as like the Jamal Adams thing went down, right as that comes out, you have kind of that immediate reaction of how that works for both teams, which, by the way, I cracked up that nobody put 2 and 2 together on that. When the trade gets announced, and 30 seconds after it gets announced, I have a 6-minute video that's been pre-produced that I threw on there. Nobody put 2 and 2 together there. So, but anyways, like, just kind of ways where you can kind of react real time to what's going on. And then, some other cool ideas coming.
Yeah, no, I love it. I was checking it out, and I mean, it's just people who love football, who love kind of the nitty gritty, all that kind of stuff. It's the channel for you. It's great. Is being a scout though, is that like the most annoying job, because every guy in America thinks that they know more than you know, even though it's your job?
Well, I'll say this. I learned very early on. You would think when you're traveling, if you're flying and you're going to scout players on the airplane, it's a great time. You can get your laptop out. You can knock out some reports, knock out some background. You can watch tape on your laptop. I learned very early on, if you got neighbors sitting next to you on the plane, you don't want to do that, because they inevitably see it up, and at the top of the screen it says like Philadelphia Eagles scouting, base. Oh, what are you working on there? Yeah. What do you do? And then the next thing you realize is that people have failed to differentiate between being a fantasy general manager versus being somebody that works in personnel for a real team. They think these are like right here. Yeah. And so then you are going to get their advice on who's good and who's bad for the remainder of your flight. God bless you if you've cracked that computer on a cross country. If you are on the middle of a 5.5-hour flight and that guy gets wind of it, like within the first 30 minutes, you are going to put on the headphones. You are going to fake sleep for the remainder of the flight. That is the only escape that you have.
All right, so if you're sitting next to DJ, don't bother him on a flight. It's just like when people come up to me and are like, "Oh, do some cowherd," and I'm like, "I'm just at a bar with my friends, guys."
Joey's back, and let him go.
All right, here we go.
But do you know what's funny? Like I always look, I would see this from other people. I never knew where they got them, but where you can put the stuff over your screen so that you can only see it like from straight ahead. Have you seen that? It's like a film or something that goes over your screen of your computer. So the person that's sitting on either side of you on an angle, they can't read the monitor. Like it kind of like it's okay. They can't focus on it. But I remember seeing guys, I'm being like so jealous, like that's genius. Like whoever came, some guy was a scout and got bugged on a flight and was like, I've got to find a way to solve this problem. And they came up with this little filter screen to put over your computer. I've never seen them sold. I don't know where you get them. But they do exist.
Maybe you should do like when we were in grade school, you know, when you like have to put the folders up while you're taking a test.
Dividers.
Just bring two, you know, those cheapo folders and just prop them right outside your computer.
That's a great idea, man.
You know what I mean? Okay, last one.
Trapper Keeper, is one of them a Trapper Keeper?
I don't know. Is that a brand?
You don't know what a Trapper Keeper is?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. How old are you, Joey?
I'll be 27 this month.
Yeah, okay. It's a generation thing. Google like Trapper Keeper was like the binder, but it had like zippers and like pouches and stuff, so you could keep like pens, erasers, like all this kind of stuff. You could like zip it up, and it was like this all-inclusive package. Trapper Keeper.
Trapper Keeper.
Yep.
Got it. Last thing for you here. I got to do it from your 3 terms that you do on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, Daniel Jeremiah, about players. We talked about them. I need 3 terms for Mel Kiper Jr. What do you got?
Oh, Mel Kiper Jr. 3 terms. I will go flowing, and that could be verbally or hair.
Love it.
Works both ways.
Yes.
We've got flowing. We've got energetic.
Okay.
And we've got emotional.
Flowing, energetic, emotional.
I think there's
a myself.
Oh, really? There you go. There's 3 terms.
And it's really 4, like you said, because of the flowing. I mean,
yeah, it's a switch hitter. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. DJ, thanks so much, man. Great to be able to chat like this. I know we've, you know, caught up on social media and via text and everything. Thanks for not only this, but then also helping me out with my video announcing I was coming to Barstool. That was really cool.
Come on, man. I tell you what, it's fun. Like, I feel like with you, it's like when you're scouting and you're trying to evaluate like the juniors or the seniors, and then there's like the freshman kind of phenom that catches your eye, and you're like, okay, that dude's going to be a stud. Like, that's AJ Green as a freshman. Like, I know what he's going to be down the line. But seeing you kind of just finding you for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is so funny. And especially like with what's going on in the world, like, dude, appreciate you, man. You're doing big things, and only bigger things on the way.
Thanks so much, dude. And whenever you need me on your channel, just hit me up and we'll set something up, and I look forward to it. So thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, bro.